Alright, Marvel fans, as is tradition on this channel with every MCU release, and now that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is out in theaters worldwide, I'm going to be looking at the ending and breaking down the two post-credit scenes in the movie for you, looking at how it pays off character arcs and how it sets up for the future, not only of these characters, or at least some of them, but also for the MCU in general. That being said, this is a video full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, go watch it and check out my spoiler-free review right up here. And of course, join me in the comments below with your thoughts on this ending, the post-credits, and where do you think these characters will go next. Alright, with the spoiler warning out of the way, let's look into the ending of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 first, where after completing their mission and returning to nowhere, we see, as promised, our current lineup of Guardians that we fought for an entire trilogy disbanding, as Peter Quill decides to stop running away from his past and return to Earth to his grandfather, bestowing the captaincy of the Guardians of the Galaxy onto Rocket Racoon, while Mantis will go on a journey of self-discovery with the Abelisks, presumably using her empathic abilities to help creatures across the universe, as that's what we see her arc coming to throughout this film. She helps people, she saves innocent creatures, and I think that's a fulfilling way of bringing her to the ending of this trilogy. And I feel the same about Drax and Nebula, who decide to stay on Nowhere. Drax to raise these children that they saved, and Nebula, who has come to care for others, who has come to accept love for herself, but also give it back, and she'll presumably be the mayor of Nowhere, while Gamora returns to the Ravagers. And I wasn't the biggest fan of the decisions made with the Gamora character, but nevertheless, that's the ending Gamora gets, returning to the Ravagers, to Starhawk and everyone else, and being very welcome, finding her family onto herself, leaving only Rocket and Groot as the only two original members making up the new team of Guardians of the Galaxy. Which brings us to our first mid-credit scene, as we see Rocket, Adam Warlock, Kraglin, Cosmo, and one of the children they saved in the movie, which we'll get to her in a bit, bantering about what their favorite song is, as Rocket kept the Zune Peter Quill gave to him, and they're all discussing their favorite song, and they are keeping the spiffy brand new outfits that we saw in the back half of the film. And I really like this. It maintains the legacy of the Guardians, and it's also very common in the comics to have constantly changing lineups in the Guardians. They keep adding members, some members go away on their own missions, so this just feels like a natural progression for these characters and for the team of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I also like to see this banter, that these characters have grown close from the ending of the film to this very moment. And as we see this banter, the citizens of this planet are standing behind them, scared out of their lives, and they look to be the same race as the Collector's assistant in the first movie, but also Ura, played by Daniela Melchior in this film, as this stampede of creatures are coming their way. And soon enough, we discover that Groot has grown even larger than he has ever been, and he was camouflaged as a rock, and I'm going to dub him Goliath Groot. We had Kaiju Groot in the middle of the film in one sequence. This is Goliath Groot, and the Guardians go into action, cutting to black. Let's talk about that little kid, because I thought she was meant to be Moondragon. Turns out she is Phylla. Clearly a reference to Phylla Vell in the comics, a character who is originally the daughter of the first Captain Marvel, Mar-Vell. That's obviously not the case in this film, but given the powers she is beginning to manifest in her hands, I think she is going to adopt the mantle of Quasar, which I'm very excited to see, because I love that character in the comics, and she has been known by other names. She has been Captain Marvel. She is currently known as Martyr in the comics. I think this is clearly our Quasar for the future of the Guardians of the Galaxy. which makes me very excited. And lastly but not least, we have Peter Quill back on Earth after meeting back up with his grandfather after being embraced. He is just having a typical Earthling breakfast, and I love that it is a very kiddie breakfast, because that's the whole thing about Star-Lord. He has run away from his responsibilities his entire life, so he's still a kid inside, and he's just having some magic spoon. I love seeing that sponsorship in Marvel Comics, because it's also a healthy cereal. It has good levels of protein, of carbs, of sugar, so it keeps up with his arc that he began in Endgame, being compared to Thor, where he wants to put on some muscle. So he's keeping those macros up while eating cereal, and while his grandfather is reading the newspaper, you see the headlines of a Kevin Bacon story talking about how he was kidnapped and sent into space by weird aliens, connecting us to the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. There's nothing really too much about this final scene, but we do get a final title card with the legendary Star-Lord will return. And they visually make a big deal about this, because usually these title screens saying a character will return, it's just a black screen and these small white letters. This was a white screen and big, bold black letters in the Guardians of the Galaxy font across the screen saying that the legendary Star-Lord will return, which I'm not surprised by. I'm happy with it. It's something that I like to not be surprised by, but we can totally see him in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, especially because now he's on Earth, and I don't doubt even the new Guardians will come and have a moment at least, and have a part to play in those two big crossovers. But that does it for my breakdown on the ending and the two post-credit scenes of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Of course, if you enjoyed these videos, I've made a ton of these about other MCU properties in Phase 4, in Phase 5, so go check those out. There should be a playlist or at least a link to one of those videos. And if you want to talk more MCU, if you want to talk more movies and TV, this is the place to be. Consider clicking that subscribe button, and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. Certain characters did get better resolutions than others, but what I found really impressive is how James Gunn managed to give all of them mostly fulfilling arcs that traverse the entire trilogy without killing any of our Guardians, leaving that encouraging, hopeful door open to whatever else they'll do down their journeys, whether we actually see it in a movie or not. He did have to kill Floor, Teefs, and Lila for it, and it completely broke my heart. But from Rocket to Nebula, Mantis, Drax, those are the real emotional highlights. And the fact that James Gunn managed to pull so much emotion with this distinct style and voice shining through the entire film, that is spectacular. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to let me know your thoughts on the ending, post-credit scene. What did you think of that final dance? What did you think of the final song? What song would you listen to on a dance party in nowhere? Anything and everything down there. And big shout out to my channel members for always supporting the channel. And I'll be back very soon with more videos. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.